So guys, a couple of days ago, I was watching one of my favorite YouTubers, a guy named EJ Massa, and he was cooking orange chicken. And I love EJ Massa because I feel like he epitomizes the spirit of what YouTube is supposed to be. YouTube used to be YouTube before it went all corporate and shorts and all this silly stuff. EJ is a very talented, very funny, very gifted creator who manages to pull humor out of his butt sometimes, but at the same time also create great cooking videos. He loves ribs, but he uses great B-roll. He has callback jokes from previous episodes and previous in the it's just a joy to watch. Every time he uploads, it's a lot of fun. So in his last video, he did something. He was talking about orange chicken, and he had a whole reason. He tied it into his life, and I'll let you go watch that video. I want you to go watch that video. But I think he scripts his videos. Oh, I'm being attacked by bugs right now. I think he scripts his videos. And for some reason, whenever he got to the part where he was supposed to read orange chicken, he said orange flavored chicken. Orange flavored chicken. You know, it's talking about Panda's orange flavored chicken. And it's funny to me because it's like it's just a funny mistake to make over and over again. And I can just imagine him like listening to himself and being like, am I gonna reshoot all of this because I said orange? No, I'm just gonna roll with it, you know, and it's great. You know why it's great? Because it's EJ and it's YouTube and it's real. It's not this sanitized version of TV. Okay, so what does that have to do with our topic? Well, in the course of commenting, telling EJ I love his video, I ended up in a conversation with a guy named Todd, So me and the Todd were talking about YouTube, and he said some very nice things, but he also said in the course of our little exchange, and it was pleasant, he said he loves me and EJ's videos. He would love to start a YouTube channel, something to the effect of he's got a great view of the mountains and he loves to cook, but he just can't start a channel because he only has a cell phone. And I told him to get going. You need to use a cell phone. But I think the Todd represents like a lot of people. Like I think there's a lot of people out there who think that they don't have the right equipment. I know I did. I was like that. I know I wouldn't have started if I didn't happen to have the same camera that my favorite creator Casey Neistat was using at the time. I just happened to have it in the closet, so I thought, okay, this is good enough. Cell phones are awesome, okay? And I'm gonna spend. They were awesome in 2016 when I started. I didn't know it because I didn't know anything. And that's another thing. If I can figure this out, you can figure this out. I sound like the everyday dad. It's a different channel. But seriously though, if I can do it, you guys can do it. I didn't know how to hit record when I started. I didn't know how to edit. I bought Final Cut Pro because I didn't know I had iMovie already on my Mac. If I can do this, you can do this. And it took somebody telling me, why don't you start a YouTube channel? It was Troy actually. And that's the first time I thought about it, and that is what led to me starting a YouTube channel. And I want to do that for you. I want to do that for the Todd. I want you guys, the ones of you that are kind of like on the verge, you've been thinking about this for years. I want you to give it a shot and have fun with it. And I'm gonna give you some information. Basically, what I'm gonna do is this camera has a 29 or 30-minute time limit. I'm actually very tired. I do have some notes. I'm gonna just talk. I'm gonna talk and we're just gonna hang out. It's gonna be very casual, it's gonna be very raw, and I'm gonna tell you the best advice I can give you. Some of it's gonna be a little probably more boring than you expected, but it's more useful. I'm gonna give you the good stuff, the important stuff about how I would start a YouTube channel if I was starting today, and some technical stuff, some stuff specific to YouTube, and some storytelling things, some things that you really, really need to know to really help you get ahead, or at least get a leg up starting out. So that's what we're gonna do today. Again, it's really casual. Got my notes. I'll get through as many of them as I can. And when I'm done, we're done. Hang on just a second. All right, I had to pull my shirt up because I wasn't sure my microphone's on. And we'll talk about mics in a minute. Cell phone cameras are awesome. This is a flagship iPhone, but even the basic iPhones, every camera that's made today is just fantastic. It's plenty good. If Canon were, If Canon were to make this, I mean, let's look at this. And I'm only doing this because I want you to know that it's not a step back to use a cell phone. 3 lenses, a medium, they call it a wide, super wide, and a telephoto, and then a selfie cam on the front. 4 lenses on one camera, right? Pretend this isn't even a phone. Just right there. That's amazing. If Canon would have made this, it would be huge, and it would cost $10,000. Now, on top of that, it's got a nice big bright touchscreen display. It's darn close to 7 inches. Canon doesn't do that. I mean, not that big, you know. It's waterproof. I mean, it's basically a GoPro. I mean, it's designed to stay, you can keep it underwater submerged like up to a meter for 30 minutes. That's as waterproof as it gets. Now they recommend you don't go swimming with it, but that's just stupid bugs. That's just because they don't want to pay for it if it leaks, but it's designed not to leak. I mean, I take mine in the pool all the time. I think he's traumatized. And they're small. And wait, there's more. They have more processing power and more memory than most computers. You can do all your editing on it. You can do all your uploading on it because it's connected to the internet, and it makes calls. This is the most fantastic camera that, I mean, I'm not gonna say the world's ever seen, but it does more than any camera ever. Like it's truly amazing, and it weighs a half a pound and slides into your pocket, even the big ones. This is an incredible tool that you can always have on you and capture video anywhere that looks good, and it's all you need. So I just want to keep that in perspective, because my first piece of advice for you is don't spend money. I mean, seriously, like that is a black hole, and it doesn't end. Like, really, like, enjoy the tools that you have for as long as you can, because once you jump off, once you jump off and start buying YouTube or buying camera equipment, it leads to more camera equipment. It just never stops. And there's always something out there that you think is gonna get you to that next level. And yet, maybe it does make your content technically better, but if you would instead spend your time mastering your cell phone, you'd be so much better off. You'd be such a better YouTuber by understanding the ins and outs of this than you would by buying a more expensive camera. Best piece of advice I can give you after don't spend money is focus on your storytelling. This is a bit of a YouTube cliche, but it's one of those cliches that actually makes a lot of sense, and it's true. That's why it's a cliche. There's a lot of advice that I got when I was starting out, and that's part of why I'm doing this video, that was just bad. It was either bad advice or it was good advice for someone else. You know, like, pros don't use autofocus. Pros at what? Pros on movie sets that pay a guy to autofocus? Or pros that shoot news? They use autofocus. Pros that shoot YouTube videos certainly use autofocus. The reason pros didn't use autofocus in the past is because you couldn't trust it. You can trust a dude, but who can afford to pay a dude? Any YouTubers have a dude that just sits there and focuses your camera? Not really, it's rare, you know? It's just an example of bad advice that I was given, and then I actually met a pro who does this, and he said I would use autofocus any opportunity that it made sense. All right, so even though cell phones have great autofocus, there is times when you want to lock it down. Like if you're pointing at a grill and the autofocus is trying to catch that smoke. So the way you lock it down with an iPhone is super easy. Just put your thumb on what you want to focus on and hold it. That will lock the autofocus, the white balance, the exposure, make the shot look better in pretty much every way. My wife gave this to me for Christmas. Look, he's got little ribs. Smokey likes ribs. Focus on your storytelling. That's the most important thing. That's almost the only important thing. Whenever you start a video, you are telling a story. You gotta think in those terms. You're not doing a recipe, you're not cooking a brisket. You are telling a story about how to cook a brisket. There's a beginning, a middle, and the end. There's a purpose, there's a reason. So I always approach videos with, before I even turn on the camera, I have a very clear idea of what I'm trying to accomplish. In this case, I'm trying to help the Todd get over his nerves and actually start the YouTube channel that he's been wanting to do. I can tell by the way he was talking, you know? I also know there's a lot of people like the Todd out there who also would really, really like to start, but they think, you know, it's just a cell phone. So that's my purpose. I want to help people get started. That's my secret agenda. How am I going to do that? Well, I've got a 3-part narrative going here. You're right in the middle of it. You may not even realize it. I have an opening, a beginning, a middle, and the end, right? The beginning was I told you about EJ Massa and how much I love YouTube and I love creators like that despite their foibles. And then I explained to you that there was a guy who was afraid he wasn't going to have a good enough camera. And that was my intro. Now I'm giving you advice on how I would start a channel if I was starting today. And at the end, I'm gonna refer you to a video that I've made on this channel, because multiple times I've made videos using just my iPhone, right? So at the end and conclusion, I'm gonna send you to another video so you can see it. And you're gonna find, if you watch that video, and a lot of you have probably already seen it, by the time you're done watching it, you're not even aware that the whole thing was shot with an iPhone. Like it won't even cross your mind because you get sucked into the story. I hope that makes sense. Whew, getting tired. How long? Oh yeah, 10 or 11 minutes in. Focus on your story. Have a story. If it changes, that's fine. Just make that part of the story, but have a direction that you're going, because that's how you know. I drooled. That's how you know what doesn't belong in your story. All right. Making YouTube videos is more about what you cut out than what you put in. A lot of times, what makes a video stronger is pulling, whoa, that was crazy. Did y'all see that? Is pulling things out. If you can remove something from a video and the video is better, leave it out. I'm getting buzzed by these bugs. This is crazy. And it's just crazy. It's addition by subtraction. And it starts with knowing what your story is about, so you can cut out things, even good things, that don't belong in it. Does that mean you don't have distractions? No, I mean, I chased a bunny in my last video, but it was an obvious joke, levity, and I got right back to it. It was you can have a distraction in your story if it's part of your story. What you can't do is just wander off. Like, you can't go off course. You can't, if I started talking about barbecue ribs right now without an explanation that that's what it's doing, I just started like, what happened to him? You know? But these bugs are buzzing me. It's not changing the fact that I'm telling you a story about how to be better, or how to start a YouTube channel. Does that make sense? Distractions, limit them. The whole thing from here on out is going to be about limiting distractions. Another piece of advice I would say is, don't let me or anybody else tell you what you should be doing to make your videos better. It's really, really important that you, one, have an open mind and be able to see the things that you don't like, right? But also, don't try to fix things that don't bother you, because at the end of the day, there'll be 1,000 people out there every day to tell you everything you're doing that's wrong. And you'll end up spending, a lot of them want your money. A lot of them have solutions they're trying to sell you. If your video, I mean, if you're happy with the way you're making videos and the content that you have, it's good enough. Good enough is good enough. If it makes you happy, it's your art, it's your work, it's what you are doing with your time and with your treasure. So keep that in mind. 13 minutes, gotta get moving. All right. Other than storytelling, which is the most important thing and almost the only important thing, audio is the second most important thing. Audio, people will watch, this is another cliche, but it's true, it's cliche for a reason. People will watch crappy video if it has great audio. I mean, if you ever catch an old episode of like Gilligan's Island or one of those old shows from the 50s, your first thought is gonna be, did people actually watch it? Was it this fuzzy when people were watching these originally? And then after a while, if the audio is good, you're gonna get sucked into it and forget it's so fuzzy. I can feel my blood sugar dropping, sorry. I'm gonna stay with it. So, make sure your audio is really, really good. What does that mean? Well, one, don't talk with your mouth full. The microphone that's closest to your mouth is gonna sound best. It doesn't matter how much it costs. So a $3,000 mic, which that's not what that is, but it's a nice mic. But if it's 10 feet away, it's gonna start to sound hollow and distant, like I'm talking to you from across the patio. Whereas the mic that's on my chest is always gonna sound like I'm right there, no matter what direction I turn and how far away from the camera I go. Whereas that mic, it's gonna lose me. This could be a $30 mic and it would sound a lot better than a $3,000 mic from a distance. They don't zoom. Keep that in mind. So the number one thing you wanna think about is keep your mic close. Well, when you're using your phone, your mic, cell phones have like 3 mics on them. It's like, so there's one in the back, there's one on the end, there's another one somewhere. You can Bluetooth it. I mean, there's a lot of things about cell phones, but if you're, generally speaking, if your phone is within arm's length, that's probably close enough. You can probably just go with the audio that's on board. That is a piece of advice that people are going to argue with. There is a reality with YouTube, because there's a lot of people that go, onboard mics are terrible. Well, that used to be true. It's not as much anymore, okay? Because the technology's improved. I mean, there's a lot of people who are using these microphones and they just get better every iteration. There's also a limit to how good it needs to be. It needs to be good enough not to be distracting. It doesn't need to be perfect, okay? And this is something I had to learn myself. When you're doing an outdoor cooking video, it's not the same as shooting a movie, because part of doing an outdoor cooking video is the ambiance of being outdoors. So yeah, I would prefer cars not drive by, but it's reality. This is where I live. I want to hear like, you know, the wood popping and the grill opening and all this stuff. And if I wore a face mic, like, you know, like you know, what's that guy's name? The big tall guy? I'm gonna hear about this forever. What's that name? Oh, what's his name? Tony Robbins, there it is. That bug was on my neck. It's pretty, it's very green. That's gross. Hope nothing bites me. Yeah, you don't need a Tony Robbins face mic to make barbecue videos. You need your mic on your camera to be arm's length. If you're gonna go any further than arm's length, you need to start looking at other options for audio. An example would be a shotgun mic. This is a Rode Video Micro. It's pretty much the gold standard on cheap, I mean, it's not cheap, but inexpensive mics. There are better mics, but this is the one they're always compared to. What this has on it that's helpful is this fuzzy thing. It's called a dead cat. Sometimes they call them wind jammers or something like that. People don't like dead cat. I think it's funny. And then it's on a rye coat mount. So this little rubber thing, what that does for you is if you're handling the camera, or if your lens makes noise, this rye coat mount keeps some distance between the camera, and it blocks that noise. That's basically what it does. The other thing that can distract or make your audio bad is if you're in a loud environment, or if there's a lot of noise coming from the opposite direction. So for instance, I have a street right here. There's a couple ways to handle this. I should be able to like basically take this mic and point it at me, and this shotgun mic will block everything that's behind it. Under normal circumstances, that would work just fine. I've noticed this at like trade shows and stuff. If I can actually, I'm gonna have to circle myself back because I've only got 12 minutes left. That would normally work. In this particular environment, what I realized is the sound is coming from the street, bouncing off the ceiling, and bouncing against my house, and it's basically coming at me from all directions. So that's when I moved to lavalier mics. Lavalier mics, this is the Rode Wireless Go. I'll have links to all this stuff below. But again, this is another one of those things. There's plenty of other options, but this is what they all compare themselves to this. This is the Rode Wireless Go 2. There's two, I'm wearing one of these. There's two of these transmitters and one receiver that sits on top of the camera and basically attaches the audio instantly to the video that I'm making, except I'm not using it like that now, but that's not the point. What this does, the reason you use a lavalier is when sound is bouncing around and coming from all directions, that's when you want to get the mic closer to your face. Because as the audio is being captured closer to your face, the mic itself gets turned down, okay? And everything else that's loud around you goes away. Because the gain comes down, it's not listening as hard. Does that make sense? Because you're right there, it doesn't have to listen as hard to everything else in the environment. That's basically how it works. That's why a mic closer to your mouth blocks out more of the sounds around you. So lavalier mic is really, really good in loud environments, including driving in a car. Shotgun mics are probably going to be the go-to for most people, but they're not going to be much better than the camera mic that's on your phone if you're going to be across the way. Does that make sense? Audio though, if you're going to buy anything, buy audio. Don't buy a new camera until you buy audio, because even if you get a new camera, it's not going to fix your audio, because again, microphones don't zoom from a distance. Otherwise, just keep your camera at arm's length. Okay, lighting. This is the one legitimate thing that cell phones can't fix. Big sensored cameras have light sensors that are like that big. Cell phones have light sensors that are about that big. There's just only so much light they can capture. This is why when you're indoors or it's nighttime, even good cell phones look grainy on video. There's just not enough time. They can't open that shutter long enough to fix it. The solution is supplemental lighting. It's important to learn. It's a huge topic. I've spent years and I still don't totally have it figured out, but I can tell you some basic things that'll help you make your YouTube videos. No matter what anybody tells you, more light is better than no light. So even crappy lights are better than not enough light. So use what you have. That's what I'm saying. Use what you have. That's better than nothing, okay? Ideally, you would want a high quality diffused light. That means it's coming from a broad source of high quality light, which means inside it includes all the spectrum of color. It's what makes things look good, okay? And you would want it to be, again, even and consistent. The bad advice that I got was that the sun is the perfect source of light. The sun is a terrible source of light. It is a beautiful light and there's plenty of it, but you can't control it and it's not diffuse. It's very harsh. So what you want to do, I'll just cut to the chase. When you're starting out, before you start investing in lights, what you should do is use the sun to your advantage as much as you can, but use it indirectly. What does that mean? Shoot in the shadows. Make sure your whole shot is in a shadow. On a fully sunny day, okay? On a fully sunny day, there's enough light in a shadow that it evenly lights your whole scene. Because the sun is a very, very high quality of light, everything that's in diffused sunlight tends to look great. The last thing you want is direct sunlight, specifically on faces, or in our case, on the food that we're cooking. It will never look good with direct sunlight. Cloudy days are amazing, like legit, like full overcast cloud cover. It's like a big soft box in the sky. That's what me and Ballistic Barbecue always call it. It helps so much. Partially cloudy days will drive you crazy. This is why I'm like, people who say the sun's the best source of light, they don't make barbecue videos for a living. It's very, very frustrating. And it goes down at night. So you're constant, that's why I like shooting at night, because the exposure never changes. Okay, if you're shooting inside, in order to capture that light, go up to a window. So in this case, the window would be behind you, and make sure the sunlight isn't directly shining like you're a cat. You want it to be indirect light that's coming in through the window. It'll look fantastic. It's just like being in a shadow. But for now, starting out, find a shadow, make sure your shot is, whatever you're pointing at is completely in the shadow, and there's not like a bright spot, because that'll screw up your exposure. It'll look great. That's the best thing you can do. It's free and it will look really, really good. So lighting, it's a physics thing. Cell phones are never going to be as good as the sun. I mean, as a big sensored camera, it's just not something they can fake. There's a lot of other things like depth of field, the thing that blurs out the background, basically they're using these cell phones are using computational photography to be able to fake that. It's basically like the equivalent of drawing it. There's other things, and HDR video, which is, you know what, I'm not gonna do that because I've got 6 minutes left. But the point is, cell phones are getting better and better at copying what the big sensor cameras are doing, and they're still really small, and they're still, they're getting, again, they're compared to the price and compared to what you get, these are better value. They're not as good, but they're better value. Does that make sense? All right, and when it comes to actually using a cell phone, you know what, before I do that, framing is really, really important. This is something I see a lot with YouTubers. The way you frame up the shot can be very distracting in a way that we all sense, but we don't know why we sense it. Does that make sense? So like right now, what you need to do is you need to think of I made a visual aid. Imagine a tic-tac-toe board, right? So you split into thirds. This is called the rule of thirds, is what I'm about to tell you about. You split it into thirds, and then you split it into thirds up and down. So you have this tic-tac-toe board that is your shot. I'm gonna just cut to the chase. If there's one person in the shot and you're wanting to center it, okay, you want the point of interest to be on this line. The point of interest for one person is almost always gonna be your eyeballs. If you wanna get artsy fartsy with it, you could go over here and you could line up, you see this a lot in interviews and stuff. You line up where the two lines intersect. So any of these corners are a good spot of a point of interest. Just make sure whatever you're filling with this other space makes sense. Does that make sense? So like if I was gonna like put a graph up, I could do that here. If I had another person, I'm here, I would put them here, and we would talk like that. And it would just feel balanced. Common mistake, and unless your name is Cooking with CJ, you can't do this. Like if you center your head, okay, it's gonna with all this headroom, and we all make this mistake because it's kind of, you know, we're moving around, you know. It makes you kind of look short. CJ can rock this. He's the man. Go tell CJ you love his center head. That sounds weird, but say it anyways, and send him my love. But yeah, generally speaking, I just want to grab. He's a big guy. I just want to grab his eyeballs and pull him right here because I love him. I do. He's my man. He gave me a ride to the airport when he didn't have to, and here I am mocking him. But he's got 82,000. He's got 82 something like that, 82,000 followers now. And he can frame himself up however he wants. I love you, CJ. All right. Woo, 3 minutes. It's gonna be close. All right. First thing you need to buy is a selfie stick when you're using a cell phone. This is where fast is better than fancy. You need legs. You need the ability to make it big easily. You need a ball head at the end so you can adjust the angles downward, and you need a nice, strong, heavy duty, well, it needs to be strong enough to hold your phone without dropping it in a fire. So the reason you use one of these is not because you're gonna take a selfie. It's because you want to be able to hold your phone out so that you can get more of a view of what's around you. And there is an aspect of when your phone is on a stick or a camera in general, the stick actually stabilizes the shot. It makes it look less bouncy. And then again, you have the opportunity to spread out the feet. Whoa, did y'all see that? And you can go hands-free. So that's really important. Just another little tip, when you start off with your iPhone, just to save time, here we go. There's a little camera icon here. You can press that and it'll go straight into your camera. You want to record for YouTube, you want to record sideways, and you want to start sideways or else you're gonna have problems. But a way to save time, it's just less tedious, is you can just swipe to the left, and you don't even have to be logged in for that to work. Okay, just something, something most people don't know. When you're using your selfie cam, if you look at that green light, it is close enough, I don't know if you can see that, it is close enough to the lens, which is here, for it not to look like you're going like this the whole time. There's something about us that we want to watch the screen, especially when we start out. We want to watch the screen, but our lens is right here, and you can watch the screen forever and not realize that you're not looking at yourself on the screen. So look at the green light. The actual lens is about right here, but the green light is close enough. There's something about, you can look above the lens and it looks okay. You don't have to be staring right at it. But if you look to the right, people notice, and they'll tell you. They will tell you. Put your phone in airplane mode so you don't get interrupted. Use the main the main camera lens the most of the time. That main lens is gonna be the best one. And I guess that's about it. Y'all go check out this video. I shot the whole thing using my iPhone. Let me know what you think. It's a really fun video and I had a lot of fun making it. Hope you find this helpful. I love you guys. We'll see you in the next one.